You're the one who kidnapped Ashley.
You got on quick.
What the hell is this? One of their fancy toys?
Leave Ashley out of this!
How's it going, my evil residents? Today we're going to be taking a look at all of the melee weapons from Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0, and the remakes of 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we are going to rank them from worst to best, mostly subjectively, somewhat objectively. I'm going to take a look at the weapon's damage, how hard it is to use, how easy it is to use, how durable it is, how hard it is to obtain. I'm going to combine all those traits and rank them as best I can from 50th place to 1st place. And yes, I mean every single melee weapon. I do want to clarify though, melee moves such as the Resident Evil 4 and 5 melee moves where you can suplex or do right hooks or Wesker's punches, Jill's punches, Sheva's punches, all those moves will not be on here. I've ranked those separately per game in their own videos if you'd like to check those out. The criteria for a melee weapon as far as this list goes is if it appears in the inventory, if it has its own like unique stance, like you can move around and be holding the weapon. Some of these weapons are just part of characters' bodies. So I did play a little bit fast and loose with it. Basically, if I didn't include some sort of melee move in the melee moves video, I threw it in here, 1, to get the list to an even 50, 2, just so I could talk about them, since I didn't talk about them there. I do want to say really quick here, if you are curious about any of the stats for these weapons, and you are listening to this video, I do list the weapon stats on the screen right when I start talking about it. If you would like to take a quick glance at them, or you need to pause to look at them, feel free, go for it. It's all there for you. I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into the video, ranking all of the melee weapons from the mainline Resident Evil games from worst to best, starting at number 50. I ranked the original Resident Evil 2 knife in last place simply because it's just kinda ass. It's just horrible. It has the worst damage, it is not reliable, it does not fit with how the game is balanced, it doesn't work as a utility tool. Your inventory is so tight in this game that even if it was more of a utility, it's just not worth having on you. You're better off carrying handgun ammo, anything else, a key item, a healing item, anything else. You do not want to deal with this thing. It does way less damage than the knives from Resident Evil 1 and 3 in the original trilogy. Like, way less damage, like less than half the amount of damage that those knives do. It's ridiculous how underpowered and weak this thing is for basically no reason. I'm glad Capcom learned from their mistake and Resident Evil 3 fixed the knife to make it a little bit better. I would just recommend completely ignoring this thing. Don't pay it any mind. It's going to do you more harm than it is going to do you good. Carlos's knife has a similar problem to the Resident Evil 2 knife where it doesn't fit the design of the game that it's in. Jill has a dodge melee attack that she can do that makes the knife do more damage. Carlos does not have this. He can do that without the knife, and that is its main role in this game, which means it is completely worthless in Carlos's hands, especially since the game showers you with ammo for both of his other guns. There's no point to using this. If you do, for some reason, need to fall back on it, kills the zombie in about 10 slashes, which is about double what the Resident Evil 2 knife does. If you really need to use it, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you do not ever need to use this thing. It is redundant to exist, so it goes in second to last place. The knife in the original Resident Evil 3 suffers from pretty much the same issue that it does in all the original 3, in that it is a huge pain in the ass and a huge learning curve to get the hang of and to use. The reason I rank this one below the Resident Evil 1 version is because of the massive rocket-wielding, sprinting stalker enemy in the corner of the room that's about to suplex me in the name of Nemesis. There are very few moments in this game where you are safe from Nemesis, and the knife is not very effective against him, and trying to knife anything with Nemesis on your ass cheeks is not gonna be super effective. It's gonna be more effective than in Resident Evil 2, because you're doing more damage than a Nerf gun would in this game with this knife. However, you're still not doing fantastic damage. Nemesis exists. Therefore, it goes here. The Resident Evil 1 knife, the first knife in the entire series, unfortunately is not the best one. It can only get better from here, folks. If you want to be effective with this knife, at least from what I've watched from other people's knife-only runs that are better at this game than I am, is that you need to pause buffer to use it effectively, be very careful about your spacing and all of that stuff. So while you can beat this whole game with just this knife, it is an insane feat of skill to do so. I can't even fathom doing that as someone that's beaten this game with only the knife in RE1 Remake. I cannot imagine what it's like in this game. Overall, you're better off just using the bullet weapons in this game. The game is balanced around you using those. They didn't really try to make the knife an actually viable weapon yet in the games. So for all those reasons, unfortunately, this is where the very first knife in the entire series ranks, and it goes right here. I guarantee you, if I went into this list with any sort of bias whatsoever, this thing would not be this low. Resident Evil 5 is my favorite Resident Evil game, and I've gotten pretty okay with the knife in this game, but I have to acknowledge it is complete shit. It lives in the shadows of the Resident Evil 4 knife. We will get to that when we get to that. But the main problem with this knife, straight up, it's lack of damage. It has a slow pullout speed. There's a joke to be made here, but I don't want to make it. Feel free to make it in the comments. It barely does enough damage to stun. On higher difficulties, it probably just won't even stun. It's worthless. It's not worth using at all. There's other melee weapons in this game that, if you really would like to melee, you're better off using those. We'll get to that later. It feels like slapping the enemies with a Slim Jim in this game. If you would like to set up a melee attack, this is the most inefficient way to do so. The only time you want to use this is for style points, but even then, people are going to be way too confused as to why you're using the knife to even develop style points. So there's just no point. It is effective once you get the hang of it and put in a lot of work, but it is not very effective. It barely counts as effective. Jill's knife in Resident Evil 5 does have a unique animation, a unique attack speed. It has the same amount of damage, but that attack speed and the ready speed of this knife makes it so much better than the other. It is still the most inefficient, not helpful way to set up a melee attack in this game, but if you are going to, do it as Jill. Style on people with the melee. They'll be surprised that character even has a melee, like a good melee, a different melee. It's the only one with a unique one. I'm not going to dwell on this. Most of what I said about the regular RE5 knife is true, but this one is just faster, but not fast enough, or doing enough damage to be way more effective than the other. It's about just as effective. Krauser's kit in this game overall is just slow and slightly obtuse to use, and his knife is no different. It seems to be a carbon copy of the main campaign knife. However, that knife, the main draw of it is that it's actually good against bosses, surprisingly so. Given this knife is only available in mercenaries, Krauser doesn't even really get to compete with the other knives, just because even if it may be as good as the other ones, it's in mercenaries, and most of the time, you just need to use his bow and his powers. It doesn't work well for the amount of enemies that are in mercenaries. You're going to get crowded, you're going to get hit from behind. You need a really high amount of skill to use this in mercenaries, so overall it's just not that good. It's still effective. You can still perform with it. As I said before, you need a lot of practice, a lot of knowledge, so it just ranks really low because all of that knowledge just doesn't really pay off to anything super effective. Next up, we have the knife that is exclusive to Mia's horrible boat section, and I promise I'm not ranking it low because it's on the boat section that I despise, except I kind of am. It doesn't serve a purpose on the boat section at all. Most of the enemies that you would think about fighting, this weapon is just going to do you more harm than good. It's not worth the learning curve to learn to fight them with this knife because it's a pain in the ass. It wastes your time, especially when you have the remote bombs and the machine gun readily available. There is no point to fighting the 2 or 3 enemies on the boat section with this okay knife. It does do more damage than the knife in the base game that Ethan has that you can hit boxes with. I understand that, but it doesn't even fill the role of being a box destroyer because most of your items on the ship are not in boxes. This weapon serves basically no purpose on the ship, but I won't lie, it is effective if you use it. However, you never need to actually use this. My first couple times I played this game, I didn't even pick this up. I didn't even know it was there. That is how inconsequential this is to the gameplay loop of the boat section. Right here we have Ada's knife from the original Resident Evil 4. She sports a unique folding knife design, kind of similar to the knife from RE7, except a little bit prettier. Bet you didn't even know Ada had a unique knife. That is kind of how obscure this one is. It's not even on every version of the game. If you play the original version of the game, it's not even there. That said, this one ranks above Krauser's knife because, unlike that one, it does make a campaign-style appearance in separate ways in Assignment Ada, and does serve more of a purpose there. However, since those experiences are shorter than the main game experience, and Ada has a lot of different tools to her disposal, such as the bow, doesn't quite fit into the same niche role that makes the actual knife from Resident Evil 4 good, quite as well as that one. But it's not as pointless in the gameplay loop as Krauser's, so I'm going to rank it right here at the bottom of the good tier because, as I said, while it has its uses that almost rival the main game Resident Evil 4 knife, it doesn't quite hit that bar, and Ada has a lot more tools that you are likely to use since they're more unique to this campaign than the knife, if that makes sense. Moving from one weapon you probably didn't even know existed to another, we have the crowbar from Resident Evil 7. I bet you're wondering where this comes in if you already don't know. This weapon is exclusive to when you choose to cure Zoe over Mia, and you get the extra Mia boss fight on the ship after switching back to Ethan. You can find this on the floor to fight Mia with. It's basically just a reskinned axe from the prologue of the game in the guest house. It's essentially just a key item to fight Mia. It's hard to rank it with other things. It's unique to being a boss fight weapon, and you don't really get to fight any regular enemies with it. Most weapons like that are going to be in this section right here because they don't serve a purpose outside of one section of the game, but they are good for that section of the game. This one is the epitome of that. It just goes towards the bottom of this area because it's the most obscure, most useless weapon of those because you could just straight up skip it. You don't even have to experience it. I missed this weapon in my very first most popular video, and nobody said anything. There's not a single comment on the video that says, where's the crowbar? Why didn't you include the crowbar? It's because nobody cares. Nobody knows it's here, but it is pretty okay. It's as good as the axe from the prologue of the game, as I said, so it ranks right here in 41st place. Here we have the knife from Resident Evil 7 that you get from the cop. Excuse me, deputy. Sorry. Deputy dumbass, as I like to call him. Unless your arch nemesis in your fight is either a box with yellow paint on it or some red tape, you're not getting very far with just this thing. Unless you have an immense amount of skill, it's not effective against enemies. But it's not what this knife is for. And I have to acknowledge that when I'm ranking it, that you're not intended to be fighting enemies with this knife. Spotify just autoplayed a song that I despise. What the fuck? That completely threw my train of thought. Its main purpose in this game is to open boxes without wasting ammo, because this game is designed around ammo conservation, item scarcity, and destroying boxes to engage with the random item mechanic for what you need and stuff. It's meant to be a side tool, much in the same way the RE5 knife is, but it's not as necessary there because enemies drop items. In this game, most of your items come from crates, so it is very necessary to have this on you at all times. Unless you have a certain other melee weapon that we will be talking about much later, you pretty much need to have this on you at all times. It is essential, or you will run out of ammo and waste very, very precious ammo in this game. I cannot rank it higher because if you're fighting an actual enemy with this game, you are skilled enough to be the main character of the next Sekiro game. However, I do have to acknowledge that its main purpose is not to kill things, so it ranks right here in 40th place. The knife in Resident Evil Village, at least the one you start with that you get towards the beginning of the game, serve almost exactly the same purpose as the one from RE7. The only real difference here is that it does more damage, and a lot more of your stuff is craftable, so it is not as necessary. However, those two things that I just brought up counteract each other to make it about just as useful as the RE7 knife. It's more reliable as a backup tool than the RE7 knife. However, its use as a utility weapon is not as strong as the RE7 knife. Balances out to be, as I said, about equal to RE7 knife. I put it slightly above because it does more damage. That is literally the only reason I put it above the RE7 knife. You could argue these two be interchangeable. It doesn't matter that much, especially since there's 50 spots on this list. Just know that these both are utility weapons and serve about the same purpose. They could be swapped. I literally put the RE8 knife above the RE7 one because it does a little bit more damage. Not much, but a little, and it is more reliable. Jill's survival knife in Resident Evil 3 Remake fills a really, really odd spot in the balancing of the game because it has a unique mechanic completely built around it in order to function in a way that makes it usable. However, it does not have the damage to back up earning its own mechanic. Let me explain. This knife takes about 6 dodge slashes in order to kill a zombie. If you are attacking a zombie with it that is just laying on the ground, it takes a lot more, about 12 to 18, which is about the same damage as the original Resident Evil 2 knife, which are ranked at the bottom. That dodge slash saves this knife from being right next to Carlos's. However, the amount of times you will actually have to use that are astronomically low in this game. Combined with that fact, the fact that ammo is not scarce in this game, they give you a pretty good amount of ammo in this game, especially since you can craft whatever ammo you need. You can just make a ton of handgun bullets, ton of shotgun bullets, whatever you want really, and if you have a crafting companion, then you get even more ammo. Ammo is not a problem in this game. Learning the dodge mechanic in this game is pretty difficult. It takes really specific timing, knowing the animations of the zombies, and if you have the stars book, it is easier. It is still not super easy, but it is much easier. You have to do that 6 times in a row to take out a zombie without it damaging you, when you could just save yourself a ton of time and just shoot the zombie. You could just shoot the zombie. There's so much ammo in this game that there's no reason not to just shoot the zombie. It's quicker. It'll take you less time to do. It takes about the same amount of bullets as it does knife slashes, and if you're dodging away from the zombie, you can keep running. Keep running. You don't have to turn around and fight it and waste your resources or waste your time fighting it. This just fits in an awkward position of balancing in the game, because it is effective, it's okay, but it's tedious to use and it's slow, and this game is action-oriented enough to where you don't need this. It's not useful in the slightest. However, if you do use it and get good at it, you are rewarded with the slowest way to kill a zombie, the most stylish way to kill a zombie, but the slowest, in a Resident Evil game. Not even kidding. So I bet you're wondering, why is it this high? It's this high because it doesn't have durability. You can open boxes with it, so it does serve the same utility as the RE7 and 8 knife, but I'd argue it's about just as effective as the RE7 and 8 knife because those dodge slashes are so bad. Sure, they're okay. You could argue for them being okay, but compared to other knives, especially in the remakes, it just falls so short despite having its own unique mechanic specifically for this game. It's just a mess. It's a mess of game design, and it's so weird. This knife, if you literally just doubled the damage of it, or double or triple the damage of it, just bump the damage, and it's easily in the top 20. I'm not even kidding you. The design of the weapon is not the problem. It's the fact that it has its own mechanic, but it does the damage of, like, a plastic butter knife. That is the problem here. I know I rambled about this a lot, but I haven't had a chance to talk about the weird game design behind this specific knife that has always bothered me about RE3 Remake, and nobody talks about it because there's many other things to complain about that game, so I understand why nobody nitpicks this. I just wanted to talk about it. I wanted to ramble about it a little bit because it honestly annoys the fuck out of me because I love doing this attack, but it's a huge waste of time and it's tedious to do. The RE7X, it's much the same as the crowbar that I mentioned earlier, except you use it more, it's in the main game, and it looks cooler. Everything I said about the crowbar applies here. It's a anti-boss weapon, you can block with it, you can do strong attack with it. You can kind of stun lock Mia with it, but you can with the crowbar as well, it's just not as effective. This one's higher because it's more effective and you use it more. That is literally it. I do wish that you could unlock this as a bonus weapon for the main game. I don't know why you can't. It would be cool. It's like, just add some extra challenge, or like beat the game on normal and you can use the axe and it appears in the item box. I don't know why Capcom didn't do stuff like that for this game. It just would be nice to have something that works as a middle ground, you know, just add the axe as like a middle tier melee weapon. I don't know, I think that would be cool. But yeah, the axe goes in 37th place. Fun fact, this is the only time in the entire Resident Evil series you get to use a chainsaw. I know, that is insane. They should fix that. Anyways, this weapon is really fun to use, even if it is just a key item boss fight weapon. As I mentioned before, this is where all the key item boss fight weapons are going to go. This one goes above the other ones because it has more unique mechanics. It has a fuel mechanic, not quite a durability mechanic. That's why on the weapon card that I put on the screen, I put infinite durability. And yes, I know it breaks. I know it breaks when you open the door, but that's scripted. That isn't the same kind of durability as when you are hitting an enemy and it breaks because you hit the enemy too much. That is not the same thing. I know somebody's going to comment this. Go ahead and comment it. That is fine. But just know that that's not what I mean, and you know it. And I know that you're just being a shit about it. Relax, buddy. Relax. Anyways, I got way off track there. It's fun to use, and the fuel mechanic adds a different mix-up to the gameplay that you don't get with typical melee weapons because, you know, it's our train saw. And it just makes the boss fight a lot more fun and a lot more dynamic. So it goes up here because it's not any better, technically, than the other boss fight melee weapons. It's just more fun to use, and it's more interesting. So it goes in 36th place. Next up, we are going to rank Wesker's powers from Resident Evil 5. I know this is one of the first things that is kind of nebulous as to whether or not it should be on the list, but I'm including it because I feel like it. Fuck you. Wesker's powers are so weird in this game because in solo they're completely worthless and you should barely use them. However, in co-op they are the most busted thing on the planet because if you don't know, any enemy that Wesker touches, he could just graze them with the end of his penis and it will stun them. That is how powerful Wesker is. And if you're playing in co-op, your co-op partner can run up to this freshly glazed enemy by Wesker and just melee attack him. I know, that's insane. And you can run through as many enemies as you can feasibly line up. So in co-op, Wesker, as usual, is goated. But in solo, your only real use for this is if you're cornered and you need to get away really, really quickly. If you're low on health, Godspeed. I salute you. You're gonna die. Good luck. But if you have the health to spare, there are worse options you could go with. These are very fun to use, and I honestly probably overrated them because of that, because they're so goddamn fun to use. But they're otherwise just meh. You do get to kill whatever enemy is at the end of the run if you do the knee, but it's not as effective as you think, and it's hard to land sometimes. The best part of this is the stun from when Wesker runs through enemies, and your co-op partner can take advantage of that. That's the best part of this. So that's why it goes in 35th place, because it relies on not just being in mercenaries, but being in co-op mercenaries to be good. The knife in Resident Evil 0 fits in kind of a weird spot where the rest of Resident Evil 0 fits, where it's not quite as good as the Resident Evil 1 remake, but it is still pretty okay. The RE0 knife is really good against some specific bosses. You can use it pretty effectively against the Bat boss in the church. You can absolutely demolish the Scorpion on the train. You can slice the shit out of his exoskeleton-y ass. It's insane. It's so good against that boss fight. However, most of the regular enemies in this game, if you try to use the knife on them, you're just gonna die. If you try to use the knife on the slug monster guys, good luck. If you try to knife one of the frog guys, good luck. If you try to knife one of the monkeys, good luck. You're not gonna have a good time trying to knife most of the non-zombie enemies in this game. Do not try. And even with the zombies, you're not gonna have a good time knifing the zombies. Most of the time, the strategy with zombies in this game and Resident Evil 1 Remake is just to run past them. So while it is good against some bosses, bosses like Tyrant are more aggressive in this game, so it's not as good against him as it is in Resident Evil 1 Remake. So it just kind of is the Resident Evil 1 Remake knife, but worse in every single way. As I said, much like Resident Evil 0. Moving up a tier, we have the Resident Evil 1 Remake knife. I have a personal soft spot for this knife because I have beaten this game with just the knife. I actually followed a guide to do this with invisible enemy mode and just the knife. It was some of the most fun I have ever had. It was hard, but it wasn't as hard as I was expecting. And it's because this knife is pretty good against most of the bosses in this game, if not all of them. It's pretty reliable against Yawn. You can skip Yawn 1. Black Tiger you don't have to fight. You can just run past it because of the way that boss is built. The Tyrant, it's pretty good because you can just kind of run around him with modern controls and just stab him a little bit. He's not as aggressive as the RE0 Tyrant. Plant 42, you can just stand there and knife him. It doesn't look like you can, but you most definitely can. Overall, this thing is just kind of slept on. People see knife only and tank controls and piss their pants, but I I promise you, once you have a handle on the controls for the game, this is not as hard as you think it is. I really recommend giving this a try. This knife is very, very good. It is a very fun run. Please go give it a try. I may have overranked this a little bit, but honestly, it's mostly just because of how much fun I had on this knife-only run. I've tried other knife-only runs and they're not as fun. This one is fun and it's about the perfect difficulty. The tactical knife from Resident Evil 7 is exclusive to the Not a Hero DLC and really, really shines here. It does a lot of damage and it pairs insanely well with Chris's parry punch move that he has in this game. Unlike the knife from Resident Evil 3 Remake that is paired with the parry punch that does not work with it. This one is quick, it has really sharp attacks, it's really quick, and it's nice to use. And you can block at pretty much any point in the animation and hit with the parry. So it just works really well for Chris's melee-focused gameplay, and it just adds a lot to the DLC that's not present in the main game. I really like it for that. If I had a nickel for every Resident Evil DLC that was heavily melee-based and made melee a lot more fun than it is in the main game, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? We're back to talking about Resident Evil 3 Remake again. We're going to talk about the Hot Dogger, but I refuse to call it that, so I'm going to call it the 1000 Degree Knife, because who the fuck was responsible for calling it that? I just want to talk to you. 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 The Hot Dogger is... I hate that fucking name. The 1000 Degree Knife is about as good as the regular knife should be. It takes 3 dodge slashes to kill a zombie with this weapon. This is a bonus weapon. It costs CP. I know, I didn't pick the abbreviation. Hank! Don't abbreviate Cyberpunk! Hank! The reason that this is so low on the list, despite being a bonus weapon, is literally because it's a bonus weapon. It's bad. It costs points away from other better weapons, and it's no more fun to use than the regular knife. It sets zombies on fire. It doesn't have any unique sound design or anything. It just glows and has holes in it, and it's fine, and just, it's so underwhelming. Oh, this thing is going to be effective. It's going to be nice. It's going to be sweet. I'm going to chop up these zombies, and then you use it, and you're like, holy fuck, this hits about as hard as the editing does in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie. It's so bland. I know I've been rambling about this a lot, but it genuinely frustrates me how good this weapon could have been if they just buffed the damage. Same with the regular knife, same with this, same with Carlos's knife. Just make the knives better. You ruined your own mechanic by making your melee weapons so weak. Why? You had a perfect opportunity here with your dodge melee mechanic to make a cool, different mechanic that other Resident Evil games don't have that much. The only other one I could think of that has like dodge melee attacks is Resident Evil 6, and they're awesome there, and they could be awesome here. The reason that they're so good in Resident Evil 6 is because they're actually effective. Here they hit like a wet fart. They suck. They don't feel good to use either. Aside from the fact that they suck ass, the sound design of them is not good. They're boring and bland, and they don't do any good damage. I know I've been ranting about the RE3 Remake melee mechanics twice now. They just pissed me off a little bit. They could have done so much better. They were this close. They were so close to getting it right. They stopped right before the finish line. All they had to do was add a 0 at the end of the damage number, or multiply it by 2 or 3, and they're golden. If the regular knife in this game did as much damage as the Hot Dogger does, I hate that name. 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 If the regular knife did as much damage as this one does, life would be good. Life would be a dream. And it just like, sorry, it just annoys me. I know I've ranted about this literally for 8 minutes of this video.
Well, this little maneuver is gonna cost us 51 years.
You don't sound so bad for pushing 120.
I know. It's just Capcom. Listen, if you add a dodge melee mechanic to another game, you did this right before this game. I just registered this. Since I just talked about it with the RE7 knife, I changed my mind. I already structured the video, so it's gonna stay in the ranking. I'm switching this ranking. The RE7 tactical knife is better than this one. I'm putting it above this one. I don't give a fuck anymore. I already structured the video, and I know I'm crashing out right now. I am fully aware that I'm crashing out right now, but the RE7 tactical knife and the RE1 knife are better than this one. So just restructure the list. This one is in 33rd. The Resident Evil 1 Remake knife is in 32nd. The RE7 tactical knife is here at 31st place. Ignore this knife. Fuck this thing. RE7 tactical knife for life. I love RE7 tactical knife. Gotta be one of my favorite genders. finally we get to talk about the knife from the original Resident Evil 4. And let me just say off the bat, there's going to be two camps of people when I talk about this knife that see where I ranked it, and they're both going to ring the lunk alarm. There's going to be people that are new to the game that say this knife is worthless, it's a pain in the ass, it sucks, it's annoying, why did you put it this high, you're a troglodyte, why do you speak words into a microphone and put it on the internet, you're a fucking dumbass. And then there's going to be people that have 2 million hours in this game that have been playing it since before they could use a toilet properly, that are going to go into the comments and be like, how could you rank this knife so low? You're a troglodyte. You probably can't even read instructions in the Lego booklets. I bet you don't even know what up dog is. Those are going to be the two camps of people with this knife, but that is because the skill gap on this knife is wider than the Grand Canyon, dude. I'm not even kidding you. This knife, simultaneously, in the right hands, could be God's wrath or be like throwing a gusher at somebody. The real roadblock here for the knife is getting used to the controls and knowing when to use it. If you know the controls of this game like the back of your hand, and you know the openings of the bosses, you can take advantage of how much damage this knife does. You can stun lock most things, you can stun most enemies. It's absolutely crazy what you can do with this thing, and I fully acknowledge that. If the knife was easier to use, like if you just ignored the amount of learning curve it takes to be good with this knife, top 20, top 15, you could argue. I completely understand. But you also need to understand people that are absolutely cracked with this knife. You have been playing this game. I sound like Dark Viper AU right now. I've been playing this game for 7,000 hours, and I've never seen that before. You have been playing this game for longer than some new Resident Evil 4 fans have been alive. You cannot expect them to know how good this thing is. It takes a very long time to get used to using it. It is hard to use. Yes, it is cracked, but I cannot in good conscience place this higher. If this was like end of skill gap, like super high skill gap list, okay, it would be higher. But on one hand, half of the weapons in this list are bonus weapons that are just completely broken. This knife is incredibly well balanced because of this difference, because of this skill gap. That is why it goes here. It is not bad. I know it's before the halfway point of the list, but we've gotten past all of the bad weapons already. There are no more bad weapons that I'm going to talk about in the rest of this video. Someone else is going to cameo in this video and ask why I ranked a weapon low. It is because none of the weapons from here on are bad. Most of the weapons at the top are just really OP. And I know I've been ranting about this for a long time, but I need you to understand. People that are veterans of this game, this is a really fucking hard weapon to use. And people that are new at this game, just get good, pal. Just get good. You're washed. You suck at this game. Get good, you are a scrub. Go play the remake, you are a chub. Anyways, RE4 knife, Leon's knife specifically, is so good. However, you need to go through actual knife training like Leon did in order to be good at it. So that's why it ranks here in 30th place.
Hi everybody, my name is Ruben and I'm a horror game content creator for the channel called Nerd Space Games. Just wanted to say thanks again to Better Than Starlight for having me on as a guest on today's video. Now for my first choice for a melee weapon to represent on today's video, I went with the stun rod from Resident Evil 5. Admittingly, I'm a bit biased when it comes to the stun rod. I know that my good friend Better Than Starlight has it ranked pretty low on today's list, and I'm sure there's a good reason for that, but I gotta be real with you guys. I feel like a true hardcore gamer when it comes to this weapon. As the name suggests, the stun rod has the ability to paralyze enemies that make contact with it, and making it extremely useful against stronger enemies, as it will set you up with killer melee combos if used correctly. Sure, the weapon has extremely poor range, deals little to no damage in comparison to other melee weapons of the franchise, and is pretty much useless against extremely tough monsters or bosses in the game. But I can't tell you how many times this weapon has saved me when I was running low on ammo during my professional runs of Resident Evil 5.
Here we get into situations where knives are really good, but they seem like they're ranked low because most of the top half of this list is really OP bonus weapons. This is kind of the start of that, but this isn't quite an OP bonus weapon. It's just a very useful bonus weapon that seems like it was designed with a specific achievement in mind. This is the weapon that most people use when they beat this game melee only for the specific achievement to get the extra bonus points. It is almost perfectly designed for that, to the point where I kind of feel like you could put it higher, but there are some aspects of it that make me want to rank it a little bit lower. It's not super integral to Chris's kit in Mercenaries. You more so want to just use his punches, and in the Chris Modern Warfare 2019 section of the game, it's not that useful. because of how good your kit is in that section of the game. The Dragoon is busted, his pistol's really good, and you get a bunch of grenades, and you get Chris's throbbing, bulging, delicious biceps. You do not need this thing really in the Chris Model for 2019 section unless you're doing melee only. But if you are doing melee only, this is all you need. It's really good for that specifically. You do need some practice and some knowledge to get it done, but you're not going to struggle too hard if you have the Karambit knife with you and a good amount of healing items. You will be just fine. That is how good this thing is. Not going to be something that's going to carry you through the game. You still have to try, but it is definitely not going to hinder you in any way. These might be ranked a little higher than most people would rank them, but hear me out. Hear me out. If nobody got your back, the Resident Evil 4 Remake boot knife got your back. These things are so clutch, it's not even funny. The amount of times I've had my knife break, and then I panic and piss my pants, and then I have one of these, and I regret pissing my pants, cannot be counted. These things are so clutch, and if you don't need them, they work very well as a utility to kind of feed ammo for the bolt thrower. And don't quote me on this, I think you can make crossbow bolts with them in separate ways. I'm 90% sure you can. I could be wrong about that. I don't think I am, but I could be. So they're there when you need them. If you're about to parry an attack that's going to decimate your knife durability, pause, quick swap to this, let this take it instead of your regular knife. Trojan horse knife, 07 little knife. You did your solemn duty, and then switch back. It's that simple. I just love these things. I've never complained about finding one of these. I've never been like, oh, I have too many boot knives. If I do, I just fucking sell them, but I'm not complaining because I get money. See, there are no downsides to these things. They take up so little space. They're very helpful. They're so clutch. And if you don't need them, you get money from them. Like, what more do you want? These things are awesome. I can't rank them higher because if you're just doing damage with them, they suck major ass. But, you know, they go here. The reason I'm separating the boot knife and the kitchen knife is because the boot knife can only be found on the island and the castle section, whereas the kitchen knife is only in the village. I'm going to keep this short because everything I said for the boot knife is also true for the kitchen knife, except the kitchen knife can only be found in the village, and it's more useful because your knife is weaker at the point in the village when you play that part of the game, as opposed to when you are on the castle and the island and your knife is better and you don't need these little boot knives as much. Because I have nothing unique to say here, I'm just going to read a little haiku. I love you, boot knife. I also love kitchen knife. Both are pretty good. Next up, we're going to talk about my favorite RE7 DLC, End of Zoe. We're going to talk about the Spirit Blade, which, if you haven't played End of Zoe extensively, you might not even know that this exists or what it does. What it does is heal you. Yeah, it heals you. That's pretty cool, isn't it? I know, that's awesome. Anyways, it doesn't do that much damage, but again, it heals you, and that's really cool and very effective. And it's not that hard to unlock. You just have to beat all of these survival challenges, which basically is just go fast and don't die. That is all the challenges are. At least for when you have to complete this one. When you complete them to get infinite ammo, they're harder, but we're not talking about that shit. Who cares? I also love the design of this weapon, just like the weird creepy veins. It looks haunted. The description of it implies that it's haunted, but much like the Destiny 2 moon, it looks haunted. Like, this shit is haunted. Confirmed. I want to know who is haunting this. They can't just drop the lore bomb that ghosts exist in the Resident Evil universe by saying that this blade is haunted and then not elaborate on that. What the hell, Capcom? You can't just drop some lore bit like that ghosts exist in the Resident Evil universe in some backwater-ass, swampy-ass, mold suplex and DLC featuring saving Zoe. You can't just drop a lore bomb like that in this DLC. You can't just do that. You did do it, so I guess you can do it. But you can't just do that, Capcom. You have to explain this. Please explain this. I beg you. What's going on? Do ghosts exist in the Resident Evil universe or not? Just tell me. Just tell me. I just want to know. Next up, we finally get to talk about RE6. I know, RE6 appearing in the top half of a tier list. No other YouTuber would ever, and that's why you should subscribe. Just saying. The survival knife, specifically, is the one that Leon has. That is an important distinction because they have slightly different movesets, and if we're talking about story mode, they have completely different enemy types. That is the reason that this one is lower on the list. It is not bad by any means, but it's not as effective against the T-Virus zombies as the other knife is against the Juavo. I will talk about that more when I talk about that knife, but this knife, it's just not necessary to fight the T-Virus zombies, especially when one bullet and a melee will take them down. You just don't really need this, especially since ammo is not in short supply in Resident Evil 6 as long as you are actually engaging with the melee mechanics. If you are not engaging with the melee mechanics, hey, this one is more useful for you, and that is why it's up here. It just fills a nice spot in Leon's campaign, not quite as good of a spot as the other one. As I said, we will talk about that later. It's a nice fallback tool for players who are struggling with the melee system because it makes it easier to understand if you actually take the time to use the knife. Like if you just slash with it, then you put it down and be like, okay, that was actually effective, and then you realize you can melee with it, and it's like, oh, this is actually good. Holy shit. And then you do it 10 more times, and you're like, holy shit. And then you do it 10 more times, you're like, holy shit. And then you're addicted to Resident Evil 6, and that's the pipeline. That is the Resident Evil 6 pipeline. I just explained it to you. You're welcome. Welcome to the Resident Evil 6 pipeline. There are dozens of us down here at the end of this pipeline. You are welcome to stay. You can leave if you want, but we're just chilling down here, suplexing everything, and we're having a good time. Welcome. Next up, we have the most manly melee weapon of manly toughness that earns you the manly toughness trophy of manliness. We have the bare fists from End of Zoe. You can do combos with these. You're straight up boxing. You're just Matt Murdock's dad with these. It's awesome. And the reason that they count as melee weapons on this list is because if you open your little inventory, they're in your inventory. I know. That's crazy. That's crazy, right? That's why they're on the list. Because they're in your inventory. That's what I said at the beginning of the video. That's what I said a while ago. How could you forget that? You get a different combo with each hand that you can do. One of them is a super effective series of jabs. That's good for stunning. The other is just a really great power attack that you can do just to knock them on their ass and then do a stomp. Both combos have different roles and they both work very well, and they both stack on top of when you get the AMG78A later. You can still use them with that and it buffs their damage. These are just a great starting point. You can do very well with both of these. No, they don't do good damage on their own until you learn how to combo with them and learn how to time your blocking and stuff like that. Huge skill gap weapon, but not such a high skill gap that you're going to be suffering at the beginning of the game. The game does do a pretty decent job of teaching it to you, and they give you a punching bag at the beginning of the game to practice as much as you want, which is very, very nice. Capcom really said, let's explain the melee mechanics of the End of Zoe DLC better than the melee mechanics of Resident Evil 6, our multi-$100 million game. Insane, Capcom. Insane work. Good job, I guess. Anyway, RE7 bare fists, they're just awesome, okay? They're just awesome. I don't have to explain that to you. They're bare fists, and you solo the entire DLC with them. That's fucking badass. What more needs to be said? Heisenberg's hammer is exclusive to the mercenaries mode, and I am so sad that this isn't a bonus weapon in the main game. Imagine if Ethan Winters was wielding Heisenberg's hammer and doing ground pounds. How funny would that be? That'd be so funny. I don't know how hard that would be to code, but Capcom. Next time. Anyways, this weapon is so much fun to use. I will admit, doesn't feel like it hits as hard as it actually does because of the sound design of the weak swing. The ground pound, oh my gosh, chef's kiss. It sounds so good. It's so satisfying. This thing does a ton of damage. I just ranked it low because it's the least satisfying of the RE8 mercenaries weapons. Pretty much all of them, melee weapons at least, pretty much all of them are busted. This one is, I would say, the least busted and the least satisfying to use of all of them. That's why it ranks here. It's still very, very good, obviously. But when you're comparing broken versus slightly less broken goes right here at 22. We've reached the halfway point of the list, which means I'm going to ask all of you in the comments how many times I said knife in this video. If you take the time to count, I will pin your comment. Thank you. I just want to interject here at a random indeterminate point of the video that I haven't determined up until editing this, that I do indeed have merch. I don't have any fancy merch, but I do have handmade pins that I make myself. I have them listed on my Etsy page. You can get them in packs of 2 or 4. I will also be listing them in packs of 8 soon if you want to get the whole set in one set. If you do, that is insane. Huge W. Don't know why you do, but I appreciate it. Anyways, go check them out. I have all of my channel logos that I have had over the last year of my channel. I also have chief tokens of various colors, and I have a death coin on there. If you are a fan of my plot armor series, you know what I just said. If you are not, then all of that was gibberish. However, you can learn what I was talking about by checking out my plot armor series. Exclusive super secret code if you're watching this when it came out, or at least before the end of the March that it came out. If you order any of my pins before the end of March using code BoulderLover or the link in the description, you get 10% off. 10% off. Average gamer subs discount amount. I know, that's ridiculous. Again, I make these pins myself. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. They are a labor of blood, sweat, and tears. I know I'm shilling, but since I'm shilling, we do have a Discord, and I have channel memberships. If you would like access to ad-free versions of videos, 1 month early access on a monthly tier list video, or at the maximum tier, you can request a video, just like this video was requested by one of my malevolent residents. Huge shout out to the person who requested this video. You are awesome. This video was fun to work on, despite the fact that I've had to re-record the audio for this video 3 times because I've been having mic issues ever since I started making YouTube videos. Anyways, back to the video. Sorry for the Raid Shadow Legends ad break.
How are we doing, everyone? My name is Conjured Lion. I'm a Resident Evil content creator, obviously on YouTube. Just want to thank Better Than Starlight for the cameo of this wonderful video. Now for my pick, I actually went with the Resident Evil 2 Remake combat knife. Now on its own, the knife can be pretty useful when it comes to combating the undead, because of the automatic defense mechanic saving you a ton of heals, slicing zombies when they're on the ground, and a few notable cheeses like knifing the lickers on the back or the frame rate glitch itself. As nice as all of this does sound, it's not good, well, being a combat knife against approaching zombies to the point where you're actually better off running away and saving the knife for an even bigger threat. And for that, that's my reasoning for why it goes on here.
Since Conjured Lion already wonderfully explained why the combat knife in Resident Evil 2 Remake is so good, I just want to take a moment here to defend myself because holy shablomi. The amount of people I had in my Resident Evil 2 Remake weapons ranked video saying, you ranked the knife too low, you ranked the knife too low, you ranked the knife too low, It's like, okay, the reason I ranked it low, I'm pretty sure I said this in the video. I could be wrong. I made that video over a year ago. Give me a break, pal. I could be wrong, but I think I said this in the video. I ranked it low because the frame glitch does not work for every single player. I am rectifying that by putting the knife and infinite combat knife right here back to back in the top 20 because while this weapon has the potential to be top 5, if you are not on a platform where you can play at 60 frames per second or above, aka Xbox One or PS4, you are basically using a completely different weapon than someone who is playing at those frame rates. And it feels excluding to just ignore that fact because there are still a lot of people that play these games on those platforms. It feels weird to ignore them, and if I say this weapon is cracked, go use it, and then someone is watching the video and goes and plays on their Xbox One and dies to Birkin 1, and it's like, what the frick, Starlight? What the fricky dicky ricky stanicky are you talking about, buddy? That doesn't feel fair. So what I'm going to do here, this is probably a more fair way to rank this than the way I ranked it before. I will admit. I'm going to put it right here because if you are on old consoles or a really not big PC, it would probably be somewhere in the blue region or the top of the green region. But if you are playing this on a good PC or a modern console, it goes top 10, maybe even top 5. I completely understand that. And I could even see ranking them as 2 separate weapons. Like I could have ranked this as high performance Resident Evil 2 Remake Knife, low performance Resident Evil 2 Remake Knife. That seems just like a little too much leeway for like one weapon. So I'm just going to rank it right in the middle here and just understand that if you're playing on a good PC or a modern console, it goes higher. If you are not, it goes lower. So that is why this is here. I just want to say that. Conjured already explained why it's really good and why it goes here. I just wanted to specify why it is in this specific place. The spot may say tactical gloves because on paper we may be ranking the gloves because that's the upgradable part, but let's all be honest with ourselves. We're ranking Chris's fists right now, baby. We're ranking those fists, those boulder punching Adonis like arms. That's what the fuck we're ranking right now. And let me tell you something. This is some of the most satisfying shit in a mercenaries game, bar none. punching shit as Chris, just nonstop punching everything, which is a valid strategy, by the way. A valid strategy in Resident Evil 8 Mercenaries is just to punch everything. It's so much fun. I'm not going to be overly biased and say it is the best strategy in all of Resident Evil 8 Mercenaries. It's up there for sure, but dear God, if you haven't played RE8 Mercenaries as Chris, just solo your weapons, upgraded the fists as much as you possibly can. Pick up all the fist boosting bonuses throughout the map. You haven't lived, my friend. People say, how come Chris can punch a boulder? Play RE8 Mercenaries, you will know why. Straight up. That's how good. That's how good the fists are. That's how satisfying and fun they are to use. Absolutely incredible. Thank you, Capcom, for making Chris in RE8 Mercenaries the way that you did. It's so good. These are the best melee weapon in Resident Evil 8 Mercenaries. It's not even close. The reason for that is because they charge all your other OP abilities, so you cannot use your other OP abilities without these OP melee weapons as is. It's just stacks on stacks on stacks of OP bullshit, and I love it. On top of that, the amount of swag that Lady Dimitrescu's nails have as a melee weapon is just so cool. She has so much swag with these things that the nails don't even rip her gloves. That's how cool she is. What more do I have to say? I mean, there's not much to say. It's an OP melee weapon that is as good as Chris's tactical gloves, but it charges all your other really good abilities. Like, hello? There's not much more to say. It's pretty self-explanatory. I know I was pretty brief on this one, but that's it. They're just good. The only reason they're not higher is because they're relegated to mercenaries. Let's bring it back to another melee weapon that you probably didn't even know existed. The Golden Crowbar. Or how Jack Black from the Minecraft movie would say it. The Golden Crowbar. Golden Crowbar. Golden Crowbar. Golden Crowbar. This thing ignites your enemies into flames. I think that alone explains why it's here. But it one-hits everything. If you just equip the Brawler mod in Jack's 55th birthday, it one-taps literally everything. On its own, it one-taps most things, but if it doesn't, it literally sets them aflame, which is badass. And it's gold. What more do you want? It's a golden crowbar that sets everything on fire and one-hits everything. That's it. No more words need to be said. I'd just be wasting my time and your time, and let's face it, you have laundry to do. Unless you're listening to this video at work right now. If that's the case, I don't think your boss would like if you had headphones in. Dumb bosses are chill like that, and I respect that. So if that is the case, more power to you. But honestly, if I catch you listening to one of my videos at work again, I'm gonna call your boss and I'm gonna tell him, I'm gonna be like, hey, Gerald is listening to YouTube at work, and then your boss is gonna go into the aisle and suplex you like Leon S. Kennedy. Krauser's powers, first off, are on here because they're equipable in the fact that you activate them and then you can roam around with them and choose to do attacks. That is why they are on this list. Anyways, as far as Mercenary's powers go for this game, it's one of the worst. As far as melee weapons go, it is one of the best. And the reason for that is because it just perfectly fills out the gaps in his kit. His other weapons don't really have boss takedown damage. His bow almost does, but it's not quite there. This, you just one-tap a boss and they're gone, and you can move on with getting a combo. That is why I really like Krauser's powers specifically. As I said, all the other RE4 remake powers, for the most part, are better, except for maybe Luis's. But I do really like Krauser's in the context of his kit, and I love the massive blow-up he had. As far as kit goes, I really like his character, but I know some people don't in the remake in this game. Time to pull you back into the RE6 pipeline, baby. I'm sorry, it's gonna happen. The RE6 stun rod is better than the RE5 stun rod. I say that as someone that loves, cherishes, and would buy a body pillow of RE5 if I could. The sheer amount of damage you can put out with the RE6 stun rod is insane. As long as you learn how to use it. I feel like I have to say that whenever I talk about RE6. As long as you learn how to do it, as long as you learn how to use it, that's just RE6 in a nutshell. After you do your attack, hold the button. It charges up, do another attack. If it doesn't kill them, they are 1000% guaranteed to die from your next melee attack. This thing is so good, so fun to use. It's so slept on, just because it is more in-depth to use than the RE5 stun rod, where you can just whack, whack, whack. I love the RE5 stun rod. It's very good, don't get me wrong, but this thing clears. It mops up anyone. On mercenaries, you can get max combo with just this motherfucker. I'm not even kidding you, it is that good. Yeah, you can with the original one, but this one is going to do the job much easier, much quicker, and much more badass. Just saying. As I said, I love the original RE5 stun rod. Everything Nerd Space said, completely accurate. I love that thing. This thing, whole different level. If you know, you know. This one's going to put me in hot water with somebody, but that's fine. I love being boiled alive. We have the Resident Evil 4 Remake Elite Knife. This is the one from Separate Ways that you unlock from doing all the merchant requests. The main reason that I ranked this one here, it's not bad. I just want to preface, it is not bad. It is just not necessary to use. The reason for that is because Ada's knife that she comes with already has insanely high durability, and you don't use the knife as much in Separate Ways as you do in the main game. You do not need infinite durability. And the other aspects of this weapon, the high damage, low attack speed, it just doesn't gel with Ada's playstyle. It feels clunky to use with her. Sure, it's fine to use if you're playing this like you would the main game, but if you lean into Ada's kit, you get the shield pull charm, you're using the crossbow, you're using the shotgun for crowd control, you're doing the grapple kicks. You do not need this. You don't need it at all. There's no reason you should be running out of knife durability except at the end of chapter 1, but that's just one quick repair. There's no reason you should be running out of knife durability with this thing. It's just like, it's too much. You don't need it. And I'd rather have the medium damage, high attack speed of her regular knife than I would the high damage, low attack speed of this one. Right after the other Separate Ways knife, we have the regular Separate Ways knife, the RE4R Tactical knife. This one is just perfect for Ada's campaign. It's quick. It doesn't do super high damage, but Ada isn't a high damage character. She's more of a pressure character, and this knife really leans into that. You're going to be hitting fast, but you're not going to be hitting super hard. All the knives in this game are really good, so you are going to be hitting hard. But you don't need the knife as much for her playstyle, despite the fact that it fits so well with it. It's just so well balanced for Separate Ways. The reason it is knocked down a bit is because you do not need the knife very much in Separate Ways. The game balancing is completely different, and it's not as helpful as her other unique kit items are for Separate Ways. Yeah, it's going to do well in the stealth sections, but that is nothing new. The Resident Evil 4 Remake knife in the main game is just as helpful in stealth sections, so while it's really good, just the design and balance of the game just knocks it down a little bit. I'm not saying it's bad by any means. This weapon is fantastic. It's near the top of the list. As I said, this top part of the list is all broken-ass, stupid OP weapons. I've said this multiple times throughout this video, but I just want to remind you before you say, you ranked this too low. Why is this one so low? It's not low. Most of the weapons are just good. Here we have the AMG78A from End of Zoe. It is last of the 3 AMG78s because it does the least damage. Yes, it is very useful for completing Joe Must Die, but you would not be able to beat the last boss of Joe Must Die without one of them, and the other one is just so stupidly fun that it has to go higher. I will admit it is a little bit disappointing that after beating the game, they give you one of these, but they give you a depowered version. It's still satisfying and it's still very strong, and it does a lot to give a little oomph to the gameplay. After you play through it once, you've kind of mastered it. You get more tools to play with, and you get to just dish out more damage and get more used to the combos that you've learned from before. And it's just a great tool to help boost up your power level and help out and use your skills to beat Joe Must Die. It's very good as far as that goes. It just does less damage. It's lower because it does less damage, and it's not quite as fun to use as the other two AMG78s. That is why it's here at number 12. The RE6 Combat Knife, this is specifically the one that Chris has. This thing is so good at taking out Juavo. It's insane how slept on this thing is, especially from first-time players that are like, this is the Call of Duty campaign, why am I using a knife? Everyone says this is the Call of Duty campaign, I'm not going to use the knife. Buddy, use the knife. It's so So good. Any of the mutated Juavo, if you hit them in the head with this weapon, you can then do a melee attack, and most of the time it will kill them. Another little known fact about the Juavo, if you kill a regular one with melee, they will not go into a cocoon, they will just die. It is insanely helpful to help prevent the amount of mutated Juavo spam, especially on higher difficulties. That is why they give you a knife as Chris to help counteract the amount of mutated Juavo. Every time I see someone playing Resident Evil 6 and they complain that Chris's campaign has too many mutated Juavo, if you look at their gameplay, they're doing the RE5 technique of shooting him in the head and then doing a melee. That's not very effective, or they're just gunning him down. That's not how you're supposed to fight the Juavo. You're supposed to take them down with melee weapons so they don't mutate. That is the point of them, and that is why you fight them as Chris. He is the super strong melee guy, and that's also why you fight them as Jake. He is the super strong melee guy. They are meant to use their melee attacks to take down the Juavo that do not mutate if you kill them with melee. That is why this knife is so good. Sorry if I'm explaining this in a condescending way. I know the game doesn't explain it. It's not your fault. But just keep this in mind for next time you play Resident Evil 6. Melee attacks do not let the Juavo mutate. And that is why this combat knife is so much better than Leon's, because Leon doesn't have to worry about Juavo. The knife doesn't play its key role in the gameplay with Leon. It does help you get more use of the melee mechanics, yeah, but this accomplishes that too, but with an enemy that is more susceptible to melee attacks than the other enemy. You also get the backup slash attack, which is so helpful. I love that attack. So handy, so handy. Anyways, combat knife is incredible. I can't quite put it in top 10 just because it doesn't quite dish out the damage that a top 10 weapon dishes out. But it is so handy, so good. Please, next time you play RE6 Chris campaign, use this shit. You will thank me later. Before we get into the top 10, I just wanted to thank all of you for watching this far into the video and remind you, if you like the video, you can like the video. It's right down there. It helps more people see the video. And if you would like more content like this, you can subscribe. You could just go and hit the subscribe button. That's just a thing you can do. Wonderful use of free will, if you ask me. Go subscribe, please. I would greatly appreciate you. You can even hit the bell. Oh my god, that would be awesome. You don't have to do that, obviously, but feel free. Starting off the top 10, we have Jake's Fists. And I know what you're thinking, this is a body part. Why does it count as a melee weapon? We've been over this, buddy. We've been over this. Shut up. It's in the inventory. Just shut up, buddy. Be quiet. Everything I said about the combat knife, just like right now, take that and then suplex it and make it more awesome. That is how cool Jake's Fists are. You take the melee mechanic that already exists and you put a second melee mechanic on top of it that pulls from bits of Wesker's past to make, in my opinion, a better melee system than Wesker ever had or will have. Yeah, I said it. Jake's Fists are so fun to use. Is it statistically better than certain Wesker's powers we're going to talk about later? No, but hear me out. It is more fun. Sure, the range is a little stubby, but you get a dash move. You have so much movement availability in this game that the stubby punches aren't really a problem. You have huge damage. You have a running hit attack. You can combine all of these melee attacks with the built-in melee attacks that every character has. You have so much to work with as Jake, and most of your campaign is Juavo, who are weak to melee attacks. So much freedom, so effective within that freedom of gameplay. It's just so much fun. It's so good, so useful. It's the peak of melee mechanics in a Resident Evil game, as in Resident Evil 6 at least. Maybe you could argue some other Resident Evil games have better melee mechanics. I understand. This is the peak of Resident Evil 6 melee, bar none. Jake just owns RE6 melee. He is the king. He's the god. He's the Eminem. Nothing more to say. Jake's Fists breaking the top 10. In 9th place, we have the regular AMG78 from End of Zoe. This is the one you use at the end of the game. After you pick it up, Joe says, "What's this? One of the fancy toys?" And then goes and cleans fucking house. You cannot top the amount of aura Joe Clinker has with the AMG78. Just cleaning out all the molded. And then going and whooping his brother's ass. The amount of aura alone puts this in the top 10. But on top of that, it one-hits everything. Oh my god, it's so cool. The design of it is so badass. We got some of the best punching gameplay without Chris, and I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad. That is how good the AMG78s are. And before somebody says, why is Blue Umbrella developing weaponry for fisticuffs? Why are they developing high-tech fisticuffs weaponry? One of their lead operatives is Chris Redfield, the great puncher. Boulderfield, the man, the boulder lover. Yeah, that's why. Don't get me wrong, I love the fighting knife in this game. This is the one you get from Krauser, by the way, in case you can't distinguish the names. It's so satisfying to use, it's so strong, but it's just too slow for me. I know I'm nitpicking at this point, but it's the top 10 and all these weapons are busted. I have to nitpick somewhere. And unfortunately, while I acknowledge how busted and OP and strong this thing is, I just can't rank it higher based off of personal preference. I do not like when the knives are slow in Resident Evil 4 Remake, as you can probably tell by where I rank the Elite Knife. There's something about this one just doesn't gel with my playstyle, and it feels even worse considering when Krauser uses this knife in Mercenaries, he is so quick with it, he's so fast, it's like one of the fastest knives in the game if you're playing as Krauser. So good at Mercenaries, but I'm ranking them separately because they have different movesets. This is when you were using it as Leon in the main game, and it just doesn't hit right. It feels odd, and saying that, it's still completely busted. It's so strong. It's so good.
Hey everybody, Nerdspace Games back again. This time I'm here to talk about the lightsaber, LZ Answerer in Resident Evil Village. Ever wanted to be a Jedi Master in a Resident Evil game? Well, thankfully, the LZ Answerer, aka a lightsaber, allows you to go full on Jedi mode on the likings of Village. With 3 unique colors, each with their own unique abilities, red being attack, blue being defense, and green healing you with every hit you make on the enemy. The LZ Answerer is not only one of the most useful melee weapons in Resident Evil, but it's kind of the most badass one too. And did I mention that you could also turn into a double-bladed lightsaber as well? You know, for those of you wanting to go full-blown Darth Maul on the enemies of the game. The only real downsides to this weapon is that 1, it's a massive pain to unlock as it requires you to get double S rank on every mercenary's level, and 2, it's not the easiest weapon to handle, and I actually found myself dying a lot with this weapon when I was confronted by large groups of enemies.
Right before the top 5, we have the RE4R Combat Knife. This is the one that Leon got from Marvin and kept with him in the remake. One of the most cinema changes the remake did. I love that they did that. Regardless, this thing eats through durability. It's so good. It has such high attack speed that I swear this thing does more damage than the fighting knife. If you're talking DPS and not just per hit damage, I swear it does more damage. I'm not 100% sure. I couldn't really figure it out from testing, but dear God, this thing is fun. It's so fast. I can't quite rank it at the top for an obvious reason that Conjured Line we'll discuss later. But really, the only thing keeping this out of the top 5 is the fact that it doesn't have infinite durability. That is the only thing putting it in 6th place. All the top 5 weapons have infinite durability. I just can't. I cannot put something with durability in the top 5. I can't do it. I know, it hurts me, but I can't do it. We just can't. In 5th place, we have the peak of the End of Zoe DLC. We have the best weapon in the End of Zoe DLC, and I'm using every excuse I can to say Zoe before I can't talk about it again for the rest of the video. Oh no. It's the AMG78 dual wield that you get for beating this game on Joe Must Die difficulty, which makes, oh my god, it's just so good. It's so fun and satisfying. You get a special unique 2-tier charge attack that mops the floor with anything. You don't even have to charge it really, and it kills everything. That's how good it is. Do not sleep on these things. I know you beat Joe Must Die and you're like, oh cool, but I did everything already. No, you got the Survival Plus challenges you can use these for, bud. You got the regular survival challenges you can use them for if you didn't get those done already. Or you could just have fun. You don't always need to be using some to unlock some. You could just have fun with the OP weapon, and they're so OP. Oh my god. I already talked about how OP they are, but I cannot reiterate. They're so OP. They're so fun. These are some fancy toys. Indeed.
You run around this city like it's your damn shooting gallery. Yeah, what do you do? What do you do? You act like it's a playground. You beat up the bullies with your fists, you throw them in jail, everybody calls you a hero, right? And then a month, a week, a day later, you're back on the streets doing the same goddamn thing. So you just put him in the morgue. You goddamn right I do. You ever doubt yourself, Frank?
Not even for a second.
Really? Really? You never think for 1 second?
Shit! I just killed a human being! It's being pretty generous.
A human being who did a lot of stupid shit, maybe even evil, but had one small piece of goodness in him. Maybe just a scrap, Frank, but something. And then you come along and that one tiny flicker of light gets snuffed out forever.
I think you're wrong.
Which part?
All of it. I think there's no good in the food that I put down. That's what I think.
And how do you know? I just... Look around, man. This city, it stinks. It's a sewer. It stinks and it smells like shit, and I can't get the stink out of my nose. I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call. That's what I think. I think you and me are the shit. We're the same. You know it. Only I do the one thing that you can. You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. It's permanent. I make sure that they don't make it out on the street again. I take pride in that. Let me ask you this. What about hope? Oh, fuck. Come on, Frank.
In third place, top 3. That's right, baby. Wesker made it to the top 3. We're talking about his powers. Yeah, his powers are that good. Anytime you parry someone, they're dead. It lasts forever. It's so good. You don't even have to be in his power, like his special ability power, to do the parry to kill everyone. And then when you do use his power, just destroy the right trigger. Just destroy it. He will destroy everyone, just like your right trigger will be destroyed. There's nothing more to say. There's nothing more to say. I cannot explain to you with words how easy Wesker is to play in Resident Evil 4 Remake Mercenaries, and it's all because of his powers. The parry that kills everyone, the powers, it's just... I don't know what words to speak about this. I know I'm just rambling, but genuinely, if anyone can put into words why these are so OP, better than I did, feel free. I will like your comment. Just, dear God. And the amount of range his attacks have, oh my goodness. He has about the same amount of range as Ada, and his attacks one hit. Absolutely insane. Dear Lord. Honestly, the only reason he's not number 1 is because he's stuck in Mercenaries.
Hey everyone, it's Conjured Lion again, and this time I'm back to talk about the Primal Knife in Resident Evil 4 Remake. You unlock this knife by destroying 16 clockwork castellans. Each chapter actually contains 1 castellan each. Destroy them all to then unlock the knife at the extra content shop for 1000 CP for very good reasons too. The knife itself has the best durability in a game where the knife is absolutely important. You're able to parry Ganados for a quick strike, parry crossbows, parry Molotovs, you can parry sub-bosses like the El Salvador himself, and even parry bosses. You can practically parry anything in the entire game, making it not only one of the best knives in gaming, but possibly one of the most fun added mechanics in the entire series. Not to mention when you increase this knife fully, making it an even deadlier weapon, and that's why it's actually high on the list.
The myth, the legend, the one and only weapon to rule them all, at least as far as melee weapons. This weapon appears in Resident Evil 7. You get it for completing the game in under 4 hours. It's very easy to unlock. Most anyone could unlock this weapon, and when you do unlock this weapon, you are in for the easiest run of Resident Evil 7 in your life. This thing moves everyone. Every molded, every crawling molded, every boss. Yeah, I'm talking about the circular saw from Resident Evil 7 as our number 1. The circular saw solos everything in this game. What more do I need to say? It single-handedly can carry you through the hardest difficulty. It can carry you through any challenge you need. No healing run, circular saw. No item box run, okay, maybe not that one. But it can carry you through the last half of it when you have to use the item box for the, get the crank and stuff after the Lucas section. That aside, this thing is so busted. If you haven't used it, go use it. If you haven't unlocked it, why are you watching this video? Go unlock it. It's so completely broken, utterly busted, and it's in the main game. Yes, this thing is in the main game. It's not stuck in some side mode where stuff is usually broken. No, you get this in the main game, and you can clean house with it. It is unmatched. You cannot match the amount of power the circular saw has. This thing is so strong that you can beat the Jack fight where you're fighting with the chainsaw without the chainsaw. This thing's more effective. Not even kidding you. I'm not kidding. This thing is so effective. It's better than your handgun. It's better than the burner. It's better than the machine gun. It's just as good, if not better, than the shotgun. I think it's better than the shotgun because you don't have to go and hunt ammo for it. It takes up one spot. Insane how good this thing is. It takes up no inventory space, takes no ammo, It's fast and it does high damage, and its secondary attack, where it just lets you lay into him, and you can do the swipe attack. It's got everything. There is nothing this weapon doesn't have. That's why the Circular Saw from Resident Evil 7 is the #1 melee weapon in any mainline Resident Evil game. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching this entire video. I know it was a long one, and I'm very glad you enjoyed it so much that you watched all the way to the end. Or hate watched it, that is totally fine. Whether you liked it or disliked it, feel free to let me know by hitting the corresponding like or dislike buttons down below. And if you want to see more of this content, hit the subscribe button. You could even hit the bell icon if you really want to know when I upload. That would be huge. If you'd like to get more in touch with my community, I do have a Discord linked down in the description. And if you'd like to support me more directly, there are 2 ways you can do so. As I mentioned earlier, I do have an Etsy shop with merchandise, basically only consisting of pins for the moment, because that is all I have the ability to make by hand, but I am planning to do some stickers down the line. You can get all of my various channel logos. If you like my plot armor series, you can also get some cheap tokens. They come in packs of 2 and 4, but I am planning to do an 8-pack later. I do also have channel memberships that you can get. Really quick shout out to all my members. First off, shout out to my harmless residents. I appreciate all of you, and your names are scrolling on the screen right now. Very special shout out to my nefarious residents, ones 1UP, the Epic Raker, and Evil Resident. Super extra, deliciously epic special epic shout out to my malevolent residents, Mark Maidens, Erkrom Cromer, and Donna Dracula TTV. At various prices, they start at only $1 though. You get a special role in the Discord. Depending on the tier, you get access to ad-free videos, and you get month early access to the members tier list. It does go public after a month because I don't like paywalling content for too long, but you do get a month early access to it, and you get to vote to decide what it is. If you want to subscribe this month, you get access to the Leon one-liners tier list that I will be uploading before the end of this month, and you can help me decide what next month is going to be. If you subscribe to the top tier, you get to pick a video. You get to request a video. That's right. This video, in fact, was a request video. Thank you very much for requesting that video. You know who you are. I don't know if you want to be specifically shouted out. You can say who you are in the comments, and I will like your comment, and I will give you the praying hands emoji. That's going to do it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Stay evil, my residents.